and welcome to my review of One Piece chapter 920, 21, and 22. Because those were the chapters I missed except for the last one, which I did a live reaction of, but I did promise to do some reviews, so here we are. I don't know how long this will be. I won't go into detail about every single thing that happened in the chapters just to prevent this from being an hour long, because if you've been following me for some time, you know when I do reviews, they tend to get really, really long. So, since I haven't voiced my opinion on most of the things that happened in the last couple of chapters, well, it could get pretty long. So we're just gonna try to stick to the main things, and also a lot of the questions we had in 920 or 921, they were answered within the few chapters we have now, so there's no point in bringing them up. But I have a couple of things I want to discuss, some theory-ish things, and just some few interesting things that might be interesting for the story, and a few opinions here and there. So let's see what happens. If we just start chronologically with chapter 920, which is called I Love Oden, we get we start by getting the backstory. We get to learn what kind of person he is and how he became so kind of revered by the people around him and by the retainers he had and by Nekomamushi and Inuarashi, and Roger and Whitebeard and all those important people, like the people we knew he had connections to, but we never really knew how. And for a lot of the time that really stays, that kind of stays the same, because we just learned like, Whitebeard found him to be like captivating or charismatic or whatever, and Roger found him to be something. Like, it's just like mentioning those things that we already knew. And I won't go into the backstory because you read it, there's no point for me going over it. But the important thing is actually that we don't get the full story. We kind of just get the reactions to the story. We get like people looking angry or laughing or looking upset and all of that stuff about how the story and just basically derail from Oden being this really great guy who ended up dying because Orochi and Kaido were pieces of shit. So yeah, the part of the backstory that we get information on that I find the most interesting is definitely the part about Lady Toki, because she's the one who had the ability to travel forward in time. First of all, we got the confirmation that you can only travel forward in time, which was what I really wanted, because I think traveling backwards in time can create a million paradoxes, but traveling forward in time is fine, because it's like, you can't really impact something in the past, so that's fine. We also get the we get the information that there were rumors about Lady Toki being from like a distant past, which is really interesting because that could mean a lot of things. But I mean, when we think distant past and One Piece, we probably think about the Void Century. Now, the sad thing is we can't get that information from her because she died there. She basically said like, I'm at a point in time now where I'm where I was always meant to be. So this is where I probably like, I won't travel to the future with you. So she didn't save herself, and she apparently also did not save her daughter, which I find really weird. So my kind of Lucius theory, which I'm sure a lot of people have made this connection, is that she gave the ability, or that she somehow transferred her ability to her daughter, and her daughter then traveled forward in time, and I think we will meet her again, because I don't think there was a point in introducing a little sister if she isn't going to do anything, because at least Oden had influence because there was Oden, and Toki had influence because she had the time traveling ability. And since we know it's a devil fruit and not just a weird ability of hers, it could be passed on, and it would make sense if we could give it to the daughter so that the daughter has some sort of relevance and not just be like this wheel of misfortune. So yeah, I think we're definitely gonna meet her again. Because when I was writing my notes, I was like, who else could have the cell fruit now? And I was like, oh, wait a minute, it will probably be like this girl who had no role previously. Because I think we will see this power again. I think it would be really weird for Oda to introduce the power of being able to travel forward in time and not using it. Because the thing is, it could be very useful because there's no saying that you have to travel 20 years at a time. You could maybe travel just 5 minutes forward in time and like save yourself from something really terrible. I mean, it could be how, it could literally be how the Straw Hats escape, the Straw Hats and Ally escape, their little blast from Kaido by the end of 922, but I doubt that, that would be very convenient, but I definitely think that it's the sister, what was her name, I forgot, Hiwa Toshi or something, who got the power, somehow. What else? What else did I write in my notes? Right, okay, so both in 920 and in 921, we start talking about the plan to like free Wano and to open its borders and to free from Kaido and Orochi and all that. Now, the thing with plans, as we all know, when we get the full plan, it's not gonna go according to plan because there's no point in telling us what will happen this early in the story because then there would be no excitement and and of course nothing ever goes according to plan. It's One Piece. Like, why we need chaos. And especially when Kinemon's like, we don't want a full-out war, we just want to like casually sneak in and kill these people. That's not gonna work. We all know that. Let me just, I have hecka notes. Yes. But here's the thing. Oda spends at least a chapter, if not more, just explaining this plan, which means that something has to go right. Like, this ban is the basis of which everything is built on, and if we're gonna get more separation, like we already have, I completely forgot to mention that Zoro, I will come back to him. Like, we have Zoro going off somewhere, we have, sorry, we have other Straw Hats stationed in different places, we have allies stationed in different places, we have allies we still have yet to find. And they're already now, like, they're talking about splitting up again. So everyone needs, like, some place to be. And so the whole plan makes sense in the fact that we all have a basis. We all have, like, some sort of common understanding of where we want to go. But it's just not going to go as easily as we want it to. It's basically what we can draw from this. But I like that we have the little, like, rundown of where everyone is and why it's important that they are there. I especially loved when Kinemon was like, well, we stationed the Straw Hats different places and we put Usopp and Zoro in the capital so that they could search for allies, and then Luffy's just completely savage, like, I guess Zoro wasn't of much use, huh? Just completely savage. I love it. It's one of the reasons I simply love their relationship, because they can just burn each other so hard, and it's wonderful. It's part of their friendship. But yeah, we have Usopp stationed in the capital to search for allies, which is really smart because Usopp is very observant. He could definitely look for those little little moon marks, and he could also probably figure out other things while he's there. He's a smart guy. We have Frankie stationed to get the blueprints of Kaido's residence, which is also really smart. And again, it's Frankie. He could probably build something on the sidelines which will help them in the long run. Or he could get some other pieces of information. I just think that this intelligence gathering is just really smart of them because they have, Zoro notwithstanding, they have the smartest people out there doing recon. So I think that's really nice. And of course we have Robin spying on Orochi, as we saw those couple of chapters ago, which is super, super smart because, like, he's one of the big baddies. I'm not sure how Brook's abilities are useful for securing food supply, but I'm sure that will be explained to me either in the comments or later in the story. Generally I feel like, except for Sanji's role as Shift to, like, kind of gather people and figure out who they are and such, I feel like the other Straw Hats' roles were a little vague, and they never even explained what the fuck Luffy would be doing, but again, he never sticks to a plan, so maybe they'll just be like, sit in the forest, talk to the animals, do whatever you want, just don't be noticed. Which, again, would never work, because it's Luffy and he just punched Kaido in the face. So, you know. Right. We got some new outfits, and then, as I said a couple of days ago, in my live reaction, I don't like Nami's outfit. I know a lot of you probably assumed I would, because, I mean, it's Nami and I love her, and I think she's beautiful and all that, but, I was more interested in seeing the outfit that she had in mind, and I think her outfit is really, really skimpy, and it makes me not uncomfortable. What's the right word? I mean, is she wearing underwear? I just assume she's not, because it's One Piece, and it's like, I just don't assume underwear existed back then. As if it's a historical era. It's very, very exposing, and clearly she doesn't even like it herself. Like, she covers up immediately afterwards. And I would have loved to see her in, like, really cool kunoichi wear. I think that would have been, like, she would have looked even cuter. Carrot's outfit, on the other hand, that's great. That's really cute, because even that is, like, a little skimpy, but it's, like, it covers, and it's really cute, okay? And, of course, the guys look fine as well. I mean, it's a little boring sometimes, but it's fine. I just don't like Nami's outfit. Um, yeah. We also meet Shinobu, but I mean, that's not really that important. We get mention of 3 important allies. We get Kawamatsu, Denjiro, and Ashura. And Ashura, we've already heard of before in the flashback chapter-ish. So we know that he was one of the big, strong guys. The only thing I have with it is that it's been 20 years, and even though they could be alive, they would be, like, up in the years. Now, we do know from One Piece story that old guys can kick ass, though. But, and they've probably been, like, because we know that a lot of them have been expecting that 20 years from that day, people will come back or something would happen, right? So they probably, some of them have been preparing, we know. So the question is where these guys are at now. There's, I mean, there's probably a fine theory out there that Shutenmaru is actually one of these 3 people. Sure someone's made a theory about that, because we get introduced to Shutenmaru, who I did not like in the beginning, but now that I've reread the chapters, I'm like, okay, never mind, I quite like this guy, actually. Because first of all, we know that he picked a fight with Kaido, and he did not die, and we know that Kaido respects him enough to want him to be his subordinate, and Shutenmaru is confident enough in his abilities to keep declining him? That's probably how, yeah. He also clashes with Jack and scars him pretty immediately, even though he looked like he was just a fat, lazy guy. Like, he was really introduced to someone who was just, like, sleazing about, but he injured Jack, not mortally, but, like, he injured him. So that was a really great panel. And we have, like, a lot of those little comments from him in 922, where he gets really mad when Kaido burns down Oden Castle, and there were a couple of other comments that just, it made it seem like he was gonna become an ally at some point. I think that's, and he had those comments also about, like, how he believes that Wano is more or less a doomed country, so he doesn't conform, that's not the right word either, he doesn't like the path that Orochi and Kaido has taken this country on, and he clearly respected Oden. So having some people who are now coming to rebel is going to be really good, especially because he had that whole speech about there's no strong man for all the samurai to follow, and that's probably going to be Momonosuke, because we know that the people who waited for them in those 20 years, they pledged their allegiance to Momonosuke, not Kinemon or all of them, but they were like, if Momonosuke wants to fight, we're going to stand behind you. So that's, and there's probably a lot of, he can draw on a lot of allies because he is Oden's son, so there's just a lot of respect there. And he must have known them as well, like, he was still really young, but he must have known a couple of people. Let's see, what else can I talk about before I start talking about Kaido? Right, okay, let's talk about Kaido then. I feel like this is our first proper introduction. Like, we've had Kaido, when he, fell from the sky and attempted to kill himself, and it did not work, and we had Kaido, after he captured Kid, and then we've had, I feel like he's, like, had shadowy talk, but, like, I feel like seeing him as a dragon is the first proper introduction, just because we get to see a little bit more of him, we get to see him fight while he's drunk, obviously, because apparently that's just a thing. I'm sure he was drunk the first time we saw him as well. And sure, we got that really, really cool introduction of him the first time, where it was like, I mean, I remember pretty well where it was like, they've tried to hang him and cut him and do all these things to him, and he just keeps not dying, because the things break, and meh. Because Kaido is immortal, blah blah blah. But I mean, as cool as that was, I know I freaked out completely when I read that chapter. Just having the sky change and that Kaido coming down as a dragon, and he's just like this big presence, and you see him like move and fight and do it all while really drunk. I think that's cool too. So yeah. No. Now, as a couple of people have said, the fact that Kaido is a dragon does not necessarily mean that he has the dragon devil fruit, and a good thing to point out is that we don't get an official Oda box stating that this is Kaido and he has the dragon fruit or whatever, the something fruit. Mythical, Soan, dragon something, whatever that would be. It would probably also be a type of dragon because there are multiple dragons, so this is like the Eastern version. So, yeah. But we don't get an official Oda box, which leaves it up in the air as to what his devil fruit actually is. Like, is it a dragon devil fruit, or is he like Chopper, where he was a dragon and he got some other devil fruit? As people say, a demon devil fruit, because I quite like Reggie's theory about that. That one was made a million years ago. But if you haven't watched that, you should check it out. I still think the theory holds up pretty well. With the exception that we now know that he's also a dragon. Let's see what else we have. I talked about a lot of these things in the live reactions. I won't go through it all again. Right. Kaido's super strong. I wanted to point out how fast he is, just because like if we take the factor, like the fact that he's strong into consideration, like imagine like drunk people walking or running, like it usually happens something like this and they fall and it just does not go well when you're really drunk and want to run somewhere. So taking that into consideration and how fast he got from the town to, well, not all the way to Eden Castle, but just like close enough for him to destroy it. He's really, really, really fast, and we see it as well when he's like flying. He's like really close to the ground, destroying things in his way, and it's probably not completely on purpose that he's destroying so much, because as they say, like the residents of this town, they are like the workforce behind the factory, the something factory. So they should not kill all these people and destroy all their property, because then they would probably also die. But he's just straight up drunk. So I think I really think, taking that into consideration, he's really strong. And of course, here's the thing with Luffy and Kaido meeting so quickly. This is not going to be the final fight. Obviously, this is way too early. And also, I feel like it would be a little bit of a cheat if Kaido is strong while Luffy takes him out, right? But it will help build the tension, because I really do love the arcs where Luffy gets to meet the enemy twice or sometimes thrice, but not like in, because like when we had Dressrosa, he fought Doflamingo like a couple of times, but it was like, it was all within a relative short time of each other. But if we go back to something like Alabasta, where he fought Crocodile so many times during that arc, and it was like sometimes there were days in between, or one day in between. I like that better, because it gave Luffy time to like think about stuff and really find people's weaknesses, because he's really good at that. I've talked about this before, like fighting genius and all that. So I think them meeting so early will definitely give Luffy a distinct advantage, because Kaido will, no matter what, think that he's stronger than Luffy, which he probably is. Like if we go power levels and all that shit, he's probably stronger than Luffy. A lot of people are probably stronger than Luffy. But this is why I don't like talking about power levels. But I think having them clash now and have like a short fight, which will either be inconclusive or Luffy will straight up lose, that will be very beneficial, because Luffy learns a lot by fighting people rather than just observing. Even though we know he's really good at observing as well. Got that from Rayleigh. This is just going to be very beneficial. And right now, Luffy is acting out of pure anger, and as Law said, we can't let Luffy just act on his own emotions, because that will just cloud his ability to judge anything. Because even though Luffy is very impulsive and just tends to do his own thing regardless of plans and such, Luffy is still relatively smart. Like, we saw his ability to follow a plan that he made, of course, on Whole Cake Island, and he didn't, like, it wasn't until the plan backfired that he, like, kind of gave up on it. And, I mean, it was Sanji's fault that it backfired, because he wasn't willing to just go back with them. But yeah, again, Luffy's character development is the only thing that's consistent in this story, because unlike other characters like Sanji, his character development is just all over the place, because I feel like we just took 3 steps back from Whole Cake Island. Very annoying. Like, really, was it really necessary for him to be reverted back to a gag character right after his whole arc? That was just, yeah. I'm just a little indifferent about Sanji right now, because he's not really showing the character traits that I like about him, and we got quite a lot of in Whole Cake Island, but not enough. And I'm sure people are still really sad that we haven't gotten a fight yet. Again, I don't really care too much about that because I'm sure he can kick ass or whatever. But it's yeah, a little annoying. But I mean, I'm sure you could get into some fights with people about that. I feel like I've skipped something because this is very short. Oh, we didn't talk about how it was did I say that it was confirmed that Orochi was the guy who more or less not more or less, who definitely is the fault of the fall of the Kusugi clan, which is why he's also the shogun now, because we know that Oden's father was the original shogun of Wano, which I guess would make Momonosuke the not necessarily the heir, because he probably had multiple children and stuff, but I mean, he would be, if we go by line of succession, if you don't agree with this regime, then you could go back to the former. It's a little bit gray area, but I'm sure they could pull in the fact that Momonosuke is the son of Oden, who is the son of, what was his name? Sukiyaki, yeah, named after food. Sukiyaki is very delicious, by the way. If you haven't tasted it, it's very good. I'm sure they can pull on that and make him like the rightful leader of Wano, and he will open up the borders with his newfound powers and blah. I'm sure it will be just fine. I really kind of want to talk more about Shutenmaru just because I think he's really cool. Weirdly. I think he would be a really interesting ally. I think it would be really interesting if he happened to be one of those 3 important allies, who just like was like, he's using a cover name to cover up the fact that he is like an Oden follower. But I feel like he also has way too much pride to be one of those. Maybe he's the son of one of them. I don't think we have his age at all. He'd also just, I mean, there are so many, but he's definitely connected to Oden somehow, and he's definitely going to be an ally somehow, even though he did steal all the food that Luffy gave to the town. So we're going to see about that, but I'm sure if he apologizes and pledges his allegiance, they will forgive him. Luffy is a forgiving person by nature, and he's not entirely sure who robbed the food, so. Robbed the food? Stole the food? Yes. So I'm definitely rooting for Shutenmaru to come to our side, because I think it would be not necessarily confusing, but I think Wano is going to be one of those arcs where it's going to be one side against each other, unlike in Whole Cake Island, where it was very, very much rooting for that battle royale that we kind of got, but not really, since the Germa kind of helped the Straw-Hats, but did it under their own. We had some other parties, but it wasn't quite the battle royale that I wanted, and I don't want Wano to turn into that, because this is already a very, very big arc, which has so many storylines, not mentioned, but we have a lot of storylines have been leading up to this arc, so I think it would just be confusing to have more than 2 sides that are very prominent at the very least. So I think for this arc, it's very, very much going to be either you're with Luffy and company, or you're against them. And they will not hesitate to take down people who are against them, because as much as Kinemon says this is not going to end up in a war, this is definitely going to end up in a war. And I'm very excited for that, because it's been a while since we had a full-on war. Like, Marineford was really the last full-on war that Luffy and people, just Luffy actually, they participated in. Have they ever been in any other wars? I mean, sure, any sloppy could probably become a small war. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a big war. And it's going to be pretty epic, because we're really, really gathering a lot of people here. Which I find, I think the cast, the characters we've been introduced to so far have been, or not have been great. I will say they hold potential, because a lot of them we don't know too much about. I really, really like Kiku, obviously. I want to learn more about Tsuru now that we know that she's Kinemon's wife, which is also really weird, because I feel like Kinemon does not act like he's married. I mean, sure, he hasn't seen his wife for 20 years, but still, you're technically still married to her. Yeah. I think that's what I have of my notes. It'll probably take me 1 or 2 videos to get back into doing reviews for One Piece, because it's been a while. I keep going back and forth, but just I just don't have time. I don't know where my time is going. But yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now because I do want to talk about Boku no Hero too. So, guess you can like the video if there was anything I said that I don't know. Leave a comment what you thought of the chapters, the things I said, other opinions I have, theories, anything you want to talk about, and you can subscribe if you want to see more. And until next time, bye.